When shall we three meet again, in thunder, lightning, or in rain?
When the hurling battle is done, and the battle's lost and won.
That will be ere the set of sun. Where the place?
Upon the heath.
There to meet with Macbeth. Fair is foul, and foul is fair. Hover through the fog and filthy air.
King Duncan was speaking to a soldier who was wounded and bleeding heavily. He told Duncan how bravely Macbeth was fighting against their enemies.
O brave Macbeth, well does he deserve that name.
Our valiant cousin, thy words are as thee as thy wounds. Go get him, surgeons.
Then the Thane of Ross arrived with their latest news.
An attack on us, Norway with terrible numbers, assisted by a traitor, the Thane of Mordor. But Macbeth went arm in arm, and we won.
Great happiness.
The king was pleased with Macbeth and angry with the traitor Cawdor, who had been fighting against him.
Go pronounce his death, and with his former title greet Macbeth.
I'll see it done!
What Cawdor has lost, noble Macbeth has won.
Macbeth and Banquo were on their way back from the battle when Macbeth was struck by voices in his head.
So foul and fair a day I have not seen.
Aye, that it is.
Banquo, my friend, I hear them again.
I tell you once again, there are no voices.
I'm either mad or you're hard of hearing. Wait.
All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Glamis.
All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor.
All hail Macbeth, thou shalt be king hereafter. Hail!
I understand not, imperfect speakers. Tell me more. By Sinur's death I know I am Thane of Glamis. But how of Cawdor? The Thane of Cawdor lives, a prosperous gentleman, and to be king stands not within the prospect of belief, no man to be Cawdor.
Good sir, of what do they speak?
That is Banquo, lesser than Macbeth and greater.
Not so happy, yet much happier.
Thou shalt get kings, though thou be none. Banquo and Macbeth, all hail.
They're gone.
They've vanished? I hear no voices. What knowledge they have given you I know not of.
The voices in my head. They tell me I should be Thane of Cawdor, King of Scotland.
A few minutes later, Ross arrived to tell Macbeth that the king was awarding him a new title.
King Duncan bade me call thee Thane of Cawdor.
This title was exactly what the voices had predicted.
What, can the devil speak true?
The Thane of Cawdor lives.
Who was the Thane live yet, but under heavy judgment, bears that life which he deserves to lose.
Thank you. Do you not wish your children to be kings?
Oftentimes, when us our harm, the instruments of darkness tell us truths.
Why do I yield to that suggestion? Whose horrid figure doth unfix my hair?
He decided to write a letter to his wife, for he knew that she would share his dark ambitions.
Stars, hide your fires. Let not light see my deep and dark desires.
When Lady Macbeth read her husband's letter, she immediately agreed that they should murder King Duncan.
Duncan comes here tonight.
You shall put the night's business into my care.
But I'm his host. I should close the door to the murderer, not bear the night.
Art thou afraid?
But what if something should happen?
Lady Macbeth told him that she would make Duncan's guards drunk, so that he was left unguarded, and then she would smear the guards with the king's blood.
What cannot you and I do upon the unguarded Duncan?
Is this a dagger which I see before me? The handle towards my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still.
The dagger was not real. It was conjured up by Macbeth's troubled mind. When Lady Macbeth returned, it was time for her husband to kill Duncan. Slowly, he made his way to the king's bedchamber, whilst Lady Macbeth waited in the shadows.
I have done the deed. Didst thou hear the noise?
I heard the owls scream and the crickets cry. Go get some water and wash this filthy witness from your hand. And why did you bring these daggers from that place? They must lie there. Go carry them and smear them, the sleepy grooms with blood.
I will go no further. I'm afraid to think of what I've done.
Give me the daggers. I'll gild the faces of the grooms of all, for it must seem of their guilt.
How is it that every noise appalls me?
My hands are of your colour, but I shame to wear a heart so white.
I'll wake Duncan if you're knocking. I wish thou could.
The person at the door was Macduff, the Thane of Fife. He had arrived early to wake the king. Macbeth had told him that the king was still asleep, so Macduff went up to his chamber.
I'll wake the king.
Murdering treason! What? No! Let's kill him.
Macbeth rushed upstairs to the murder scene, where he killed the guards so that nobody could question them. Duncan's two sons were worried for their own safety.
This murderous shaft that shot hath not lighted, and our safest way is to avoid them. Therefore, to course are to England.
To Ireland I! Our separate fortune shall keep us both safer. Where we are, there's daggers in men's smiles.
Duncan was dead and his sons were gone, so Macbeth was made king. Banquo watched Macbeth being crowned and remembered the voice's words.
Thou hast it now, King Cawdor. Grab us all, just as prophesied, though I fear he played most foully for it.
Tonight we will hold a solemn supper, and I will require your presence. Do not fail me this feast.
My lord, I will not.
Why here this afternoon?
I am a good lord.
I wish your horse Godspeed.
Macbeth remembered that the voices had promised to make Banquo's sons kings. His jealousy grew, and he formed an evil plan. He would send some men to murder Banquo and his son during their ride.
How now, my lord? Why do you keep alone?
We've scotched the stake, not killed it.
What's to be done?
Be innocent of your knowledge. We will mingle with society and play the humble host.
Later that night, the ceremonial feast was prepared, and the guests started to arrive. But Macbeth had been told that although Banquo was dead, his young son had escaped from the murderers. This news troubled him.
Those councillors say I did it. Never shake those gory locks at me.
His Highness is not well!
Sit where we friends. My lord is often thus. My noble lord, your friends do lack you.
I'll sit down. Give me some wine. Feel full. To our dear friend Banquo, whom we would miss, would he be here? Hence horrible shadow. How can you behold such sights and keep the natural ruby of your cheeks when mine is blanched with fear?
What sights, my lord?
I pray you, speak not. He grows worse and worse. Stand not upon the order of your going, but go at once.
guests left, but rumours spread about Macbeth's strange behaviour. Macduff and I were in England preparing an army at this point.
Gobble, gobble, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Eye of newt, toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog. Gobble, gobble, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. For a term of powerful trouble, like a hell broth, boil and bubble. Gobble, gobble, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble.
How now, you dark and midnight hags? What do you do?
A deed without a name.
Tell me of what I ask you.
Demand. We'll answer. Macbeth, Macbeth, Macbeth. Beware Macduff. Be bloody, bold and resolute. Laugh to scorn the power of men. For none of woman born shall harm Macbeth.
Macbeth was reassured by this news, but he decided to kill Macduff and his family all the same.
Macbeth shall never vanquished be, until great Birnam Wood to high Dunsinane Hill shall come against him.
That will never be. Who can impress the forest, bid the tree, and fix the earthbound room? Tell me if your art can tell so much. Shall Banquo's issues reign in this kingdom?
Seek to know no more.
I will be satisfied. Deny me this, and an eternal curse fall on you.
Show his eyes and grieve his heart. Come like shadows, so depart.
Thou art too like the spirit of Banquo. Down another yet. A seventh, I'll see no more. Horrible sight, now I see is true. And for the blood-bolted Banquo smiles upon me and points at them for his.
Why stands Macbeth thus amazedly? Of time the air to give a sound while you perform your antique rounds.
Macbeth's jealousy and ambition grew and grew. He was worried by the voices' predictions about Macduff, who was in England with King Duncan's sons. His anger grew. Macbeth arranged for the murder of Macduff's wife and children. Meanwhile, his own wife had become very ill, and she started walking in her sleep.
Lo you, here she comes.
How came she by that light?
She has her light with her continually.
Out, damn spot! Who would have thought the old man to have so much blood in him?
Do you hear that?
The Thane of Fife had a wife. Where is she now?
You have known what you should not.
To bed! To bed! There's a knocking at the gate.
More needs she the divine than a physician. God forgive us all. Look after her.
Good night, good doctor.
Meanwhile, Macbeth's enemies were approaching his castle and ready to fight. Macduff and I were determined to defeat Macbeth. We told our soldiers to cut down branches from Birnam Wood and to carry them before us as a disguise.
I fight till from my bones my flesh be hacked.
The Queen, my lord, she is dead.
Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death.
As I stood my watch upon the hill, I looked on to Birnam and saw the woods, they began to move.
Misery filled Macbeth. His wife was dead, and now Birnam Wood appeared to be moving just as his voices had predicted. He knew he was doomed. He decided that he would not surrender yet.
They have tied me to the stake, I cannot fly, but bear-like I must fight the cause.
hellhound.
Of all men else, I have avoided thee.
I have no words. My voice is in my sword.
Ha! I bear a charmed life, which must not yield to one of woman born.
Despair they charm. Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped.
But Burnham would be come to Dunsinane, and I oppose being of no woman born. Yet I will try the last.
My thanes and kingsmen,
Henceforth be earls the first that ever Scotland in such an honour named. So thanks to all at once, and to each one, whom we invite to see us crowned at Scone.
So finally, Macbeth's tyranny was over. Scotland was returned to Mylorine at last.